In Hollywood, it's rare to find someone who doesn't just act, but lives every role with raw intensity, passion, and complete surrender. Heath Ledger was one of those rare souls. Young, obsessive, with an untamable fire burning inside. People called him the new James Dean, not just for his piercing gaze and tragic end, but for that fragile vulnerability hidden beneath a mask of magnetic power. He didn't just exist, he burned. And he burned out far too soon. At the age of 16, seemingly driven by some inner calling, Heath left his hometown of Perth and crossed Australia in search of a new beginning in Sydney. No guarantees, no industry connections, just a dream to become an actor. In those early days, he bounced from one television role to another, patient and persistent, as if he knew that his moment was coming. And it did. In 1999, just shy of turning 20, Heath skyrocketed to teen idol fame with 10 Things I Hate About You, a modern retelling of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. Overnight, his name became a sensation in America. He was a heartthrob, poster boy, but Heath was quietly repelled by the image being built around him. He didn't want to be another pretty face. The thought of being boxed into one kind of role terrified him. So he started saying no again and again, searching for something deeper, something real. And in 2005, he found it. He was cast in Brokeback Mountain, a haunting story of two cowboys whose love for each other defied both social convention and their own sense of self. The now iconic film, directed by Ong Lee and co-starring Jake Gyllenhaal, revealed a side of Heath the world had never seen. It wasn't just a performance, it was a revelation. The role brought him critical acclaim, awards buzz, and a wave of admiration. But it gave him more than that. On set, he formed a connection with co-star Michelle Williams that blossomed into something real. This wasn't an on-screen romance. It was the beginning of a true partnership. Soon, they were expecting a child together. A new chapter was on the horizon. Family, home, peace. But for Heath, peace was always elusive. The fame that followed Brokeback Mountain peeled back layers he tried to keep hidden. He didn't know how to slow down. He hated repetition. And he couldn't forgive himself even for imaginary flaws. Anxious, perfectionistic, and constantly striving for something just out of reach, Heath began to retreat inward. Behind the scenes, the darkness was closing in. When, in January of 2008, Heath was found unresponsive in his New York apartment, the world stood still. He was only 28. His death was surrounded by unsettling details. One name kept surfacing in police reports: Mary-Kate Olsen. Why had she been called? What did she know? Her questioning raised even more concern. And to this day, the full truth remains shrouded in uncertainty. But beyond the rumors and speculation, one truth remains. There was a young man, brilliant, broken, in love with his daughter beyond words, and driven by a relentless desire to be more than just an actor. Heath Ledger didn't play roles. He lived them, and for that, he paid the ultimate price. The life of Heath Ledger reads like a tragic ballad, where fame and anguish walk hand in hand. Behind the dazzling image of a star whose raw talent left audiences breathless was a man desperately searching for peace. He could light up the screen with ease, but behind closed doors, he struggled to silence his racing mind. Inside him, a storm was always raging. His nights weren't just spent filming or laughing with friends. They were often long, restless hours haunted by anxiety and solitude. He took sleeping pills not to escape, but because without them, sleep simply wouldn't come. Over time, the medication stopped working, but the habit remained. Insomnia became his constant shadow, following him into the darkest and most brilliant chapter of his career. When this wide-grinned, rebellious Australian boy landed in the chaotic center of Hollywood, he came face to face with the side of fame rarely shown on camera. The paparazzi hounded him relentlessly, especially back home in Australia. One day, as reports go, he snapped and spat in the direction of a group of reporters. They retaliated in their own way, by dousing him and Michelle Williams with water on the red carpet at the Brokeback Mountain premiere in Sydney. It wasn't a blow to his career, but it hit the dream. Heath had once imagined raising his daughter by the ocean. Now, even there, he felt exposed. He gave up on that idea. But in 2006, everything changed. A role came along that would transform not only his legacy, but also his inner world. Director Christopher Nolan never had a doubt. Ledger was the one to play the Joker in The Dark Knight. The public was skeptical. How could a romantic lead possibly become an anarchic madman? But Heath dove in headfirst, and may have lost something vital in the process. He locked himself away in a hotel room for an entire month, as if cutting himself off from the world. He read comic books over and over again, trying to capture the voice of the character, his laughter, his movements. He invented how the Joker might speak, walk, stare. That unforgettable, unnatural voice was inspired by puppet theater and clowning. A sound both high and low, absurd and terrifying. During filming, Ledger gave an interview to the New York Times, and his words raised concern. He was sleeping barely 2 hours a night, if at all. He looked exhausted, but he was burning, incandescent with focus. His obsession with the character wasn't just commitment, it was complete immersion. So much so that Nolan even allowed him to shoot the Joker's chilling home videos himself. Dark, unhinged, disturbingly real. Some skeptics have claimed the role only reached legendary status because of his untimely death. But that's not true. What Ledger achieved wasn't just a performance, it was an explosion. Even Michael Caine, a seasoned legend himself, admitted that in one scene he completely forgot his lines.